Yo. It's Grapsody with Will, Phil, and Reg, trying to keep it real instead of what you usually get from these talking heads. It's Grapsody, we're here to fill the void. 3 black fans, different perspective, got to fill your voice. Coming with the podcast, talking majors, indies in between. Yeah, it's all that, and we're down with Fightful, better fall back. Coming for respect, we connect like a ball bat. No need to double check, these are all facts. You're listening to us talk raps. You're listening to us talk raps. Will, Phil, and Reg. Yeah, we're Grapsody, here to talk raps. Yeah, we're Grapsody, here to talk raps.
And I hope everybody has had themselves a happy Thanksgiving and got whatever shopping they've got to get out of their system over Black Friday done, and made sure that they shopped black this past Friday. And if you didn't, there's still a chance. But otherwise, folks, this is Grapsody, and I'm Will Washington. But I'm not alone here because there's Mr. Phil Lindsey right over here.
I'm here. You can always go and buy some Grapsody merch if you're looking to get your Black Saturday purchases off.
Let's go.
Shop.fightful.com. Check out our merch there. Support your boys.
Support your boys. Also here is Righteous Reg.
Yo, what's good? What's good? What Phil was trying to say is when you're down with Grapsody, every day is Black Friday. So keep it going. Get you some Grapsody merch. Get your girl a shirt. Get your guy a shirt. Get your person a shirt. Get your mom a shirt. Get somebody a Grapsody shirt, some merch. Represent for the boys. Hey, we appreciate y'all being here on a Saturday. I've been lazy for 2 days. Turkey has taken toll of my body, and I'm just been a relaxing mode. I don't even know if there could be. I'm trying to get excited because I'm like, man, this turkey has me in the Kata Hajime. Shout out to Taz.
Yeah, I have one last bite here that I'm gonna eat on air because it's my last bite of pie.
Oh, dirt! I can see all the chats now, so this will be different. That's funny.
Yeah, we're looking at the chat, and hey, send us your chats. You can send us your super chats. You can send us your humper chats as well. Humperchats.com. Yep, and send those along. We'll read them right here on the show. We read them across the board. They help support what we do here, and we always appreciate them. And we got a couple of super chats in already. Ryan says, I have no idea why Reg and Will are dealing with notorious dirt sheet writer Phil.
Dirt sheeter, man.
Dirt sheet. Stick you guys in your dirt sheet bullshit, man.
And you know, it's already its own topic, but King of Gabe says the exchange between Punk and MJF has me excited to see what they do next week. Ooh, I see Reg's face already. I'm so excited to talk about this one. And then we have D-Lo Diggs squad here to relax before a show I have down here. Oh, a show I have down here. Okay.
Oh, let's go, baby. Let's go, D-Lo.
Here's for a great show and that righteous rage.
Righteous rage.
Let's go, baby. Hey, good luck tonight, D-Lo. Everybody keeps saying about rage. I don't know if there's anything to rage about this week. Nothing happened that was driving me crazy. Like, there's some things that I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Actually, if we talk about Rome, yeah, there is. You're right. I just remembered what happened. So, like, let's rewind back. Let's go.
And then Matt says, popping on to say hey to my boys before Ohio State versus Michigan, praying for the good sis Jesse Davin. I will say there's not a whole lot I've been thinking about elsewise other than my dear friend Jesse, who I think most people are aware I've been pretty good friends with for a few years. Definitely send her your love because things didn't take a great turn this week. And doing is hoping and praying.
Yeah, shout out to Jesse.
And of course,
Jesse, everybody, support.
Yeah. And Brent says, "Happy Turkey weekend, gentlemen." You know what? Let's just bring it to our first topic, all right? Because there's a lot to talk about. But folks, we got a little holiday here called Thanksgiving. Can't be hateful, got to be grateful. So Thanksgiving. How was everybody's?
It was the usual. I tweeted this yesterday, but I feel like it wouldn't be Thanksgiving if your family isn't annoying, and they always find a way to be annoying. Like it's always a thing. But no, it was cool. It was very low key. I of course came back home to phone calls and goofiness. This again, it's the holiday, so yeah.
Silly. Yeah, I'm here on location still, Thanksgiving in Bakersfield, California. Good old Bakersfield, California. It's awful here. I drove 4 hours to get here. Thanksgiving is Thanksgiving. I ate a bunch of turkey, talked crazy with my mom, my grandmother. My grandmother was just saying all the wildest stuff a grandmother would say. I'm sure she's close to 80 years old. So she was saying things that an 80-year-old would say, and it was wild. It was wild. So, Thanksgiving was Thanksgiving, like Phil said. It's turkey, ham, and some annoying family members. That's just how it goes, man.
Yeah, I saw people talking about the audacity of white people online, and I said, hey, what is Thanksgiving if not a day to celebrate the audacity of white people?
I mean,
that is Thanksgiving, right?
We dedicate a whole day to it.
Yeah, I will say that as a result,
I am near Oildale, buddies. People's gross here. I'm telling you, never come to Bakersfield ever.
So I've only heard Bakersfield stories because my family lived in Bakersfield, I guess till right before I was born. Because I was born in Los Angeles, but my brother was born in Bakersfield, and I guess that's where my family lived up until we moved to LA, and then that's where I was born. And so I only hear stories, and my dad always talks about it as, oddly enough, he always talked about it as a place with no black folks, but of course that was in the 80s. Don't know if that's changed.
Still the same. Yeah. I go wake up in the morning when I look in the mirror. That's the only black person I'm about to see today, besides my mom. But yeah, there ain't no black people here. They pushed us all out. How they push people out. Guess there used to be, but I haven't seen a black person that's not my family member in like years. So that's what it is. That's why I don't be kicking it out here. Bakersfield is exactly what everything you've ever heard is true. That place, Oildale, that somebody said in the chat is awful. They create meth, I think, was created there. Like meth, the drug. They created there. They have meth house explosions all the time.
Yo,
you will get stabbed if you go out there if you're a black person. So it's wild. It's a wild place. Be careful. But I mean, I live in Oakland, California, so I mean, the game is crazy.
Yeah, it's because like I think about, I don't know. The only thing I think of when I think of Bakersfield is Booker T getting beat up in the supermarket because that's where that took
That's our
place.
thing. I was at that show. Green Frog Market. Man, shout out to Green Frog. Yeah, that's the shot. That's where they shot it at. So yeah, we had a couple of really cool moments in wrestling, and that's probably the number one because everybody remembers that. They still play that every single year. It never fails. They're going to show that video somehow.
I mentally associate that with Bakersfield. Like every time I hear Bakersfield, I'm like, oh yeah, where Booker T got beat up in the supermarket.
Right.
So yeah, I guess shout out to Bakersfield for that. Yeah, I had, we had a huge Thanksgiving. Anybody who saw my Instagram, it was a mixture of folks. Because we had black folks, we had white folks, we had them all over. Because my daughter's friends came over, and their parents came, and this was like our first and my family was there as well. Like everybody was there, and my mother-in-law came in, and my brother-in-law's been living with us for the last 2 months, so he was there. This was just like a complete mixture of people, and we spent 2 days cooking. Who am I kidding? Because my wife and I, we made 3 pies. Sorry, five pies, 3 pumpkin pies. We're pumpkin pie people. I know, like, there's the whole debate online, but here's the thing. We eat sweet potatoes. We eat sweet potatoes at Thanksgiving. I cannot.
Yeah,
I don't sit. Well, not just that, but like at Thanksgiving, we make like a whole thing of sweet potatoes. So like, I don't necessarily see the need to have sweet potatoes and then also have sweet potato pie.
Look, them shits are the same to me. I don't know why there's a debate. Like, if you put a pumpkin pie and a sweet potato pie, I'll be like, yo, these are 2 pies to me. What do you want from me, you guys?
I've never eaten pumpkin pie in my entire life.
Wow.
Not once.
So
how many sweet potato pies have you had?
This is a come on, man. This is every year, man. Like there's
like
not
1,000. I'm black.
Listen, if there's not sweet potato pie, like there's a problem. Like I feel like somebody has to go to another house to figure this out. Like
right.
we can't just not have sweet potato pie. What's happening?
Yeah, because so last year was the first year we made sweet potato or pumpkin pie, and it was because we've just never really been like big pie make. We haven't really been big bakers until like the last 2 years, but my wife discovered a couple years ago that she has a gluten intolerance and a dairy intolerance. Go figure. She's lactose intolerant and she has gluten intolerance. And,
Right.
like, so really that like kills a whole lot of Thanksgiving food unless you want to get creative. So she started experimenting with a gluten-free, dairy-free pumpkin pie, and like shit tastes store-bought. It like and I mean that in a good way. Like
Right.
like everybody who tries it, we don't tell them until after they've taken the first bite, and they're like, "Oh, where'd you get this?" And we're like, "Homemade, no gluten, no dairy, it's fucking perfect."
It's vegan.
Yeah, it is
Vegan.
it is, and yeah, we we made pies on Tuesday, and then we made apple pie Wednesday. I'm not like a big apple pie guy. I think cherry pie is the worst pie, but like
She's my cherry pie. Something white guy. It's gonna be one of those today, you guys. I'm telling you, that's how it is.
But yeah, the only problem we had with our Thanksgiving was, so if we made the turkey, obviously we hosted, so we had a whole lot of people over. We made the turkey, we made green bean casserole, like all this stuff. And for whatever reason, we just kind of assumed that somebody, because we had so many people coming, was gonna bring like a mac and cheese, and nobody did. Nobody did. Everybody assumed that somebody else was gonna do it. So like that's like, a given. Somebody's gonna do it.
It's
And
gonna
then
be
we're all
there.
here, and we're like, what do you mean nobody did? I will say,
It's those debates online, man.
Yeah.
It just got everybody like, yo,
Yeah,
should I bring
like-
the mac and cheese piece? Somebody might not like the mac and cheese. I don't know. It's a debate this year.
yeah, it's so nobody brought it, and so we didn't have mac and cheese at all at Thanksgiving, and it felt weird to not have it. I will say, my wife also makes like an incredible cranberry sauce. She's been making that for years. She made like 9 jars of it, and was just like giving it to people. Everybody's like, "Damn, this is so good." And she's like, "Here, take some."
You hear that, Kasim? We're looking right at you on your Twitter talking about cranberry sauce can get out of here. We're looking right at you, Cash.
Get you out of here.
Well, no, it was a good time. We, it's Thanksgiving. We watch football, and everybody just kind of sits around. Like the kids all had fun because my daughter had her friends over. I will say I got to make some friends who have like boys, because my son is like all alone. It was all girls in him, and they all. I think he has no problem with that, obviously, but like I think they all want him to go away. And I'm like, what do you do with that, right? So yeah, it was a good time. And I posted to Twitter, and I do this every year because it is a tradition in my home. We watch Addams Family Values every year. That movie came out November of '93. I saw it in theaters. I think it was at the Fallbrook Mall in Los Angeles, which I don't even think is there anymore. But watch that movie every year at Thanksgiving, and it never gets old. There's like always a joke in there that, because it's like that movie is just like constant like wit, and there's always a joke in there that I don't catch, or that I didn't catch before after watching it for 27 years. Because literally, there's one line where Cousin It's wife, Margaret, when she reveals their baby, and she goes, "What?" And she's like, "I didn't say anything." She's like, "No, that's the baby's nickname." "What?" "From the obstetrician." Never hit me that until literally 2 days ago that, oh, duh, because when the baby was born, the obstetrician went, "What?" And like, never hit me at all. That was one of those jokes that went over my head for 27 years because I saw the movie when I was 6, and it just hit me
Long
now.
time.
So either way, one of my all-time favorite movies. I watch it every year at Thanksgiving. But hey, I will say though, nobody brought anything bad. That is the bottom line here, is that everybody's food was good.
That's good.
It's always that one year.
Yeah.
I remember for some reason I had a friend that doesn't eat pork, right? And she came one year, and my auntie likes to put bacon on everything. I don't know why, bacon on everything. So for some reason she made like dressing and there was bacon in it. Don't know why. I don't know. So our friend was sitting there. She was like, "Hey, did you taste my food?" And she was like, "Nah." And she was like, "Why?" And she was like, "Why?" And so I was just kind of like bolding over her, like, "No, she's not eating it." And so she said, "Well, why?" And I said, "She doesn't eat pork." And she was like, "There's no pork in turkey." And I was like, "We're moving on now."
Right. Yeah. You can't explain some things you can't explain, especially to like a certain generation of black people, black aunties.
Listen,
like you just gotta let it go because you
throw the chitlins away.
right.
Stop it. Throw them away.
Those
They
are the
were
scraps.
never-
We don't have to eat those scraps anymore, man.
You don't have to
We've
do it
evolved.
anymore.
We've
I don't
moved
want
on.
to hear it's time to clean them. I don't want to see that red bucket.
Mm-mm.
Throw that shit in the garbage.
It's
man.
nasty. It don't smell good. It don't taste good. Like, what are we doing here? Why did the house got to stink for 2 days? I don't get it.
Yeah, shout out to Ryan Sullivan. He said, okay, Reg, now tell us where the other drugs come from.
That's a great question. Colombia, I think, is where cocaine comes from. I don't know.
Man.
What the movies tell you.
Shout out to Joe, just for the shout out.
Joe's just like, yeah, what's up?
Well, actually, he had a chat afterwards, so we'll read both since he donated. And then he said pecan pie for the win in my household.
My grandmother made us take home a bunch, but I'm like, who be eating pecan pie, bro? I don't know what this is.
Yeah,
I'm not a big pecan pie guy.
Yeah,
I'm not. I don't know. I don't like pies to be like super sweet, and I think that's why I like pumpkin pie. I'm sorry, I'm a pumpkin pie dude. But again, I eat sweet potatoes, so it's not like I'm out without sweet potatoes in my life.
Right.
And so that's that. But anyway, I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving because ours was nice. It was cool, and yeah, there was a lot of conversation. There was a lot of wrestling conversation at Thanksgiving because Swerve was released, and so like my dad's like asking me, he's like, so what's the deal? What's the deal with my nephew? What's gonna happen? And I'm like, you know what? I who knows?
Good question.
Yeah, good question. I don't know. So it was but it was a topic of discussion. I will say that fuck with my family. It's fuck WWE at Thanksgiving.
Let's go, baby.
Because
let's go. It's forever.
That's how it was. So it was.
Your dad's like, is it 30 days? Is it 90 days? All right, dirt sheet dad.
Yeah.
Dirt sheet dad.
I told my dad, I was like, hey, it's 90 days. You're gonna have to wait till February at best to know what's gonna happen anywhere. And then my dad's like, I just hope, like, my dad has this like weird hate for Ring of Honor, and then he's just like, I just hope it's not Ring of Honor. And I said, well, nobody's signed with Ring of Honor right now. And he said, good. I don't want to see anybody go to Ring of Honor.
Wow, dirt sheet dad does not like.
He don't like. I mean, he is like. I think my dad just is a nut for production, and so he's just like, and you know, and maybe it's just an older folks thing, but my dad is very much a local TV watcher, so he likes to just like channel surf, just like local TV networks, and of course, when he comes across Ring of Honor on Sinclair, he'll stop and watch for a little bit, and then he'll just be like, "Man, this is the lousiest production. I can't even deal." And then he'll turn it off and then call me to like complain about Ring of Honor. Like it's like
it's not the best. Yeah, it's not the best.
He is just not a fan, and I'm like, Dad, it's indie wrestling,
right?
And he's like, no, they are owned by a major corporation. They got money. I want to see better.
And the pandemic, it got even worse because they like lost the crowds and like it just visually, it's not very pleasing. I'll admit that too.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where if you're not like invested, then I can see that. And shout out to Chris. Said, happy holidays, guys. I paid $5 to ask, well, how far is he with It Takes Two? Not too far. Like I said, I haven't gotten to play it since I talked to you, Chris, but we're, I think maybe 3 stages in, maybe 4. But
you guys are talking about the Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen movie?
Yeah,
the
we're
two
like we're
twins.
watching it in phases. No, we're
I
talking
see.
about the video.
Whoa, that's weird. That's a long. I'm like, that's a long. I don't think the movie's that long. You gotta watch it in 3. You just
Stages.
pop it
Talking about the
in.
video game. I mean, it's cool if you haven't played it. It's I think it's one of the best co-op experiences I've played. And it is a game that absolutely requires 2 people. There is no single player option. You have to play it with somebody else. And I started it with my son. We were looking for something co-op to play, and Chris had suggested it. He had suggested that I play it with my wife, and she's not like a big gamer, and so my son has way better dexterity than her, and he's 7. She was like, I'll watch him play it. So we've been playing it, and it's really good. Like the amount of every single aspect of the game requires teamwork, and just like thinking a little bit together. Like the first boss you face, you have to like one person has to like vacuum up these bombs, and the other one has to aim to launch. Everything requires 2 people's function to play it, and it's really good for that. If you haven't played
it turned into a father-son bonding moment too. So
yeah, so it's cool. If you
killing
haven't
it out
played
here.
It Takes Two, like it got rave reviews. I think like IGN gave it a 9. It's really good, I would say. And then the fact that there's so much variety, like the first stage is like just a straight up like Mario style platformer, and I mean that in the sense of like it controls very much like Mario. And then but then the game like changes up in just different ways of how it plays. And the reason I recommend it is because if you have like Game Pass, you don't have to buy it. It's there.
It's on Game Pass? Cool.
Yeah, it's in Game Pass. So highly recommend It Takes Two. And I got the recommendation from Chris. So shout out to Chris, who I only remembered to go download it because he had straight up said, just give it a try. So thank you, Chris. And then Mon E says, did anybody else catch Dax Harwood quoting Andre 3000 at the end of that promo on Rampage last night? I still had family over, and it was one of those promos where everybody was talking, and that's the one thing I really appreciate about AEW. As a matter of fact, had I had family over Wednesday, that'll be our next topic, I would have been extremely frustrated because everybody around just like talks, right? Mm-hmm. And so everybody's just talking through everything. And like, if I'm trying to watch wrestling, at least with AEW, there's not a whole lot of promo stuff going on. And if I'm just trying to appreciate a match, I can appreciate that with people talking around me. Whereas like if there's a promo going on, I can't hear what's being said. So I'm curious what the line was, because that promo, there was literally people around me talking, and I didn't hear anything anybody said during that promo. I guess you guys didn't catch it either.
Yeah, no, I think I was like cooking or reheating some food while it was happening. So it was like, same thing. It was just like on, and I wasn't like really paying attention. I was more focused on the matches just because.
Yeah, and the same day I was watching the matches, and I wanted people to stop talking, but I'm not going to do that. It's Thanksgiving weekend.
I was there for Rampage, so I had Rampage on, but I didn't watch every minute of it because I was like, well, I've seen all the matches, so I don't need to sit here and watch all of it. I had it on though.
Mm-hmm. And Brent said FTR and Lucha Bros about to have 2 matches with 4 falls in 2 days. Madness. Yeah, they got the 2 out of 3 falls match on Friday, and then Saturday they have the AAA match for the AAA tag titles.
Crazy.
So that's gonna be. It's going to be nuts. Okay. But hey, we are going to talk about some wrestling. The first topic we're going to do here, though, we actually have to talk about fans. Fans in the building.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Hey, man. Shout out to Seth, man. I think Seth handled that like a pro. I mean, first of all, I didn't even notice it right away because I didn't watch Raw. I just didn't do it. I didn't watch Raw. So I saw the clip of it first, and I saw it from an angle where you could see the guy running all the way from his seat, which this guy ran a long way. Like he really wanted to smoke. So I just saw that angle first, and then I saw the angle that was on TV of him coming on screen. And I was like, what? And so, I've seen several clips of this thing from several different angles from either fans, whatever. And let me tell you, fans, stay in your seat, man. I don't want to hear any of this. Oh, stay in your seat unless you're going to get in there and catch ass whooping. Just stay in your seat in general. Stay in your seat. There's no reason for you to jump the barricade.
I mean, I was watching Raw at the time when this happened, and it was one of those things where I like looked down or looked off, and I caught it like out the corner of my eye. I like looked up, and I see Seth Rollins on the ground, but I see somebody on top of him, and I'm like, that didn't look like anybody who was from the show, but maybe that'll be explained as they cut to the replay of what had just taken place, and then we come back and Seth is standing up, and I'm like, I don't think that was supposed to happen, whatever that was. And I turn to Twitter and I see the rest of it. So, and of course, I think we all have this moment whenever something stupid on TV happens, but I'm like, please don't be black, please don't be black. And then of course he's black, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh
listen.
man. And so, so there was that issue. But then I'll say this: this whole discussion has there's been a whole lot of talk about the etiquette of fans and like how we as fans should deal with these things. Blah blah blah. I mean, and then guys' social media comes out, and it's kind of clear this dude was an exception to like every rule. The dude got like completely catfished by somebody that he thought was Seth Rollins. And he posted screenshots, and like his proof that it was actually Seth Rollins was that dude said, "I'm Kobe Lopez," and he's like, "Oh, well then he's obviously Seth. He's legit." So, and of course, dude scammed him out of money, and so he was like, "Well, I got to go take this up with Seth Rollins," and he posted that video saying he did it for his family, blah blah blah.
I did it for The Rock.
I did it for The Rock. I did it for my tribal chief. Like clearly,
an interesting point was brought up to me earlier this week. They maybe should play a disclaimer at the beginning of live events. They've never once in their life said, as a fan, don't come in here. Don't come in the ring. Don't come in here. They've never said that. They've said, don't try this at home, blah, 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 all these things. But they've never played a disclaimer that says, fans, this is a live show. These are characters. Do not try to come in here and fight these people. Maybe if they said this out loud, it'd change a little something. But
that's kind of common sense, though.
Yeah, I know, but we're not dealing with common sense, Phil. You're acting like these aren't regular common sense people. These are people.
This is also true.
So sometimes they have to see it with their eyes. Like, okay, this is a show. I'm not supposed to do this. That's a character. That's not Colby Lopez or whatever. So, but like Will said, this guy was a different exception to the rules. It's even a touchy subject to even talk about because there's like so many factors involved, so many things that change. It's not just like a regular person fan in their right state of mind jumping out to fight Seth Rollins. This is like some other things going on. So like, just don't do it. If you're in your right state of mind and you're not trying to beef with wrestlers, don't go in the ring because you will get punched.
Yeah, we talked about in Spaces. There was the other guy who tried to jump MJF and Chris Jericho. And he wasn't so much in, I mean, obviously, if you try to jump the railing, you're not in the right state of mind at all. But, like, he was trying to send a message. He was like, I want to be done with all this outlaw mud show stuff, death to AEW, blah, blah, blah.
We're talking different stuff. You're on some Jim Cornette stuff. Like, you just need to get in the ring, please. Make sure Wardlow's in there. Maybe, like, I was going to say New Jack, but he did. But, like, make sure there's somebody hard in there when you jump in there to get your ass beat. Jim Cornette fans.
Yeah, and this dude, like, he was... That guy was something else because he was trying to send a message, and then even then, like, Cornette and all them like were straight up like, not that way. Don't jump the railing.
He's dumb, Jim Cornette, but he's still gonna be like, hey, it's wrestling. I don't want fans running in here. You know what I mean?
I mean, he's from the era where he remembers where people have tried to stab wrestlers.
Exactly.
Like he knows how bad that can get.
Well, and the hard thing is, it's funny because that's one of Jim Cornette's talking points because he kind of can't have it both ways, right? Like he loves to talk about the fact that every time I see a clip that comes my way because as a Hikaru Shida fan, people go out of their way to send it to me every single time he's got something to say about her. And then I get mad and then share it myself. So I guess I'm guilty. But one of his favorite points is though that you're not an actual heel if fans aren't trying to harm you. Like he says it all the time. He's just like, look at all these fake heels. Kenny Omega's a fake heel because all the fans are booing him, but they're just playing along. He's like, the fans need to truly hate
not
you.
1988.
He's like, the fans need to truly hate you. The fans need, because like he had a problem with the fact that when Darby and MJF got into the crowd for that brawl, and he's like, nobody tried to attack MJF, so he's not a real heel. Like he said that, and I thought like, you're encouraging the kind of shit that like when you look at dude from Monday, take away kind of all the other things, like at the end of the day, like dude bought into shit that like isn't real, right? And you don't want people to do that because ultimately I just want a show that goes off without any hitches on TV. I don't care how you necessarily get if whether the heat is legit because people genuinely hate you or the heat is people playing along. As long as it's heat, who gives a shit? And that's typically how I feel.
Bro, we're not trying to punch Tom Cruise when we see him for what he did in a movie. It's the same thing. Like you can't be like punching MJF when he comes into the crowd because he got you mad. It's a show, man. Come on.
It's a show. And I mean, man, to really take this in another direction, I don't want to make this into wrestling fans are horrible. But a lot of you guys are very annoying. Let's just put this out there. You guys are very, very annoying.
These are the facts, bro.
And I just feel like there are some fans that take this stuff way too seriously and they take these things way too personally. Like, there's no reason for you to be getting mad enough to run in and attack Seth Rollins. Like, that's just stupid. And I mean, the same thing we see on Twitter all the time. There's no reason for you getting mad enough at a wrestling opinion where you're harassing people online or
creating fake accounts.
Creating burners and all this other stuff. It's stupid. Following people to their hotels and all this other stuff. Fans need to chill out. Like, seriously. Like, I feel like people have definitely gotten way out of order. And I feel like this is part of it. Like, I feel like fan culture feels entitled in a lot of ways. And it's a big problem. I feel like they think people are entitled to agree with their takes. I think people feel like they're entitled to your time. And you're not. You're not. And this is the thing that I've been tweeting for the last few days because I saw someone tweet something about Naomi last night and people jumped all over him. Hey, everybody doesn't have to love Naomi because you love her.
Right.
I'm sorry, stan culture, but that's just not how the world works. You're not entitled to anything. Like, you can disagree with people and act like a normal human being. It's okay.
I've kind of taken my stance on social media lately, at least the last like year or two. I've tried not to create beefs, especially publicly, with people as much as like I don't, because it's all wrestling. Like, who cares, right? I feel like don't attack people. Like, you can attack takes. I think if you're coming after takes, that's one thing. But like, at the end of the day, it's just somebody's opinion about TV, man. And like, ultimately, if it's like, hey, I didn't like this. Well, hey, I did like this. And like, keep it about the takes itself. Somebody thought, for example, when I was, I had posted a reply to the North American Championship take that it was the Blackest Championship thing, right? And like, and I was kind of accused of going after the person who posted it. I don't give a shit who posted it. Right. I didn't even realize who posted it when I did a search for North American Black Championship. Like, literally, I just did a search for the most prominent post when I quote tweeted it, right? But I was coming after the take because that's it. At the end of the day, it's just the take that I'm discussing, and like, we all have different takes, and I've had takes that, in hindsight, I disagree with. Like, at the end of the day, they're just takes, and I think that if we keep it about just the takes and not make it personal, then I think it becomes more fun. And I think there's a lot of people there who understand that, right? That at the end of the day, hell, there's stuff on this show we may end up coming to disagreements on.
Definitely.
It's just going to be our takes.
And there's tweets too, man. Sometimes I just be getting a tweet off. It's like not even, there's not a lot behind it. So I'm just like bored in my house.
So this is what I saw with this Naomi thing. Somebody retweeted this thing and goes, wrestling journalism is not a real thing. And I was like, you're responding to that by getting mad at a tweet. A tweet is not news. It is a take. Like, a lot of these people that write about wrestling or they get on their podcast and talk about wrestling, if I'm just sitting at home and I'm live tweeting, I'm just tweeting what I'm thinking at the moment.
Yep.
that has no bearing on how I do my job.
One of these topics, my take changed like 5 minutes
Exactly.
later. It doesn't
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it doesn't. There's nothing.
Yeah. A lot of these people are doing what everyone does. They're either having fun and watching a show, and they're tweeting. Like they're just responding to the show in real time. Now, there are people's accounts that do that. Whatever, Fightful's account does it. You know, Wrestling Inc. Most of these news sites live tweet now, and people are like, "Oh, well, this outlet is terrible because I don't like their live tweeting." Their live tweeting and what they cover on their site and how people write for their site are not the same thing.
Nope.
You know, I don't know. People just find a way to conflate things all the time, and it's very weird to me. And I also feel like people get in this wrestling journalism conversation, and there's a lot of talking points from people that don't write anything, that don't podcast anything, that don't record anything, that have a lot to say about what we should and shouldn't do. And that goes back to the stuff with Seth. Fans, you don't know everything. It's okay. It's okay for some time for you to be like, I don't know. And I feel like people are just so in, I can do everything. I know everything about everything. And internet culture is, I can just type this up and look it up. So that means that I'm knowledgeable about everything. No, you're not.
Nope.
No, you're not.
Nope. Just because you have a friend that's in wrestling, that doesn't mean anything, dude.
Some of you don't even have friends. You just listen to somebody else that's in the business talk about the biz. So now you think you are an authority about what goes on in the business. Right. No, you're not. That's why somebody joked with the dirt sheet thing, because people always want to throw around dirt sheet. Hey, listen, dirt sheet's a dated term. There are no dirt sheets anymore.
No,
there are news sites that act as dirt sheets still, but the term dirt sheet, where that came from, it's done. It's dead. There's no.
And not just that, but I think people misunderstand what dirt sheets were, and
exactly.
yeah, and then not just that, but like what dirt was, because like Fightful Select posting the planned segments for the upcoming Raw or SmackDown, as Sean gets those every week. That's not dirt. That is not dirt whatsoever. Like people forget what like dirt was back in the day, because we don't have that kind of stuff anymore. Because everything
here, they didn't see it.
No,
yeah.
The wrestlers don't care about Sean Rossap posting about what's going to happen on Raw. The wrestlers care about like them posting my contract status, or like them posting me getting wild in Mexico, and I thought nobody was going to hear about it.
That kind of stuff was dirt. Like
that's dirt.
Yeah, when we talked about personal stuff, when like there were stories of wrestlers' court and things like that, like that stuff was dirt. Those stories don't really exist that much anymore.
No.
Because even like contract status, like if you have a contact in the WWE office, for example, that stuff's kind of easy to get your hands on.
I mean, contract stuff is covered in every sport.
Right.
Every sport.
So like that's, but on the other hand, like our entire understanding up until it started getting like real coverage of the plane ride from hell, for example, was all dirt. That's all we had, was kind of the hearsay of people who were around it and got, and it was like little pieces, and you kind of had to start to piece together what happened based on who published this story. And luckily, like the Torch and the Observer, all the outlets that were around at the time still have that stuff. So you can kind of go back and see like what our understanding of that kind of stuff was at the time. But that was really dirt. What you call dirt sheets now, which is just like news, it's not. It isn't. And here's the thing. I'm not saying, and I think just to kind of add to what Phil was saying, because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like, we're not putting ourselves above any of that. We're not, we see ourselves kind of in the same exact light that we're talking. Like, yeah, of course we know people in the biz, but like that doesn't necessarily mean that we have that.
There's so much that we don't know.
Yeah,
exactly. Listen, I say all the time, you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with anything I say. I'm not the authority on anything. But I just think that people think, people get in front of these microphones or, get behind the keyboard, and it's like, oh, well, now I can put this target on them for everything that I don't like if they don't validate my opinions. Like, no, you can always do what you tell them to do. Hey, you don't have to cover something if you don't like it. Hey, if you don't like somebody's take on something, don't read it. Don't watch their podcast.
Move on.
Go and look for the podcast that satisfies you. It's a simple solution to that.
I mean, there's also people still doing dirt sheets. Like Ringside News wants to be a dirt sheet site. So
I mean,
they pursed
yeah,
a bunch of dirt, but it's never true because they're off when they suck. I just want to say Ringside News sucks on a podcast out loud.
I mean,
because they suck.
yeah, they're awful.
Stop
They
all
suck.
that garbage. Stop the capping. Leave it alone. Nobody cares and nobody likes you. The only fame you're getting is me talking about you right now. Remember when all these wrestlers were flaming you? Fuego del Sol took you guys to somewhere like you guys are just trash. Stop it. Just be nice to people, man. Like that beef shit ain't gonna get nothing for you, but more beef, bro. It doesn't work for you.
Hey, we got a bunch of super chats that have missed, so I got to scroll all the way back to get a few of these.
Only dirt sheets we fuck with on here is Dirt Sheet Dad, Will's dad, because he got all the Ring of Honor news.
Yeah, that's the one.
There
He said,
it is.
gonna need. I'm a
telling
Dirt
you.
Sheet Dad T-shirt. Also, your dad is right. Ring of Honor has always looked like it's filmed in a coffin.
That's just that's just a fact, bro. Turn some lights on and do something. I don't know what's going on here, bro.
Shout out to Hannah. She said we wanted fans back, and they've done nothing but try to make us regret
Bring
that
back
ever
the
since.
Thunderdome in every arena.
Again,
Not just our,
no, don't
don't bring back Thunderdome. No. Because I'll say this. Look, it really has been like, we've seen already close to 70-something shows already since things have been on the road. That's probably an exaggeration, but there's been a lot of shows since people have been on the road, and there's maybe been like 5 fan incidents. Like ultimately, I still love the roar of the crowd. I still love there is something about it that, man, if you try to make me watch anything from the Thunderdome or empty Daly's place again, I just like there's this feeling in the pit of my stomach of like, I don't want this. Like especially the Thunderdome is just like a visual nightmare.
I don't know, man. I do agree that bringing fans back, you bring all of the negative back with the fans as well. But I feel like you have to accept the positives with it as well.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, man. Stop being annoying, man. Like the fans that are being annoying, you know who you are. Stop being annoying.
Yeah. Shout out to Alex. It said Barclays security is trash, no matter the
Super
event.
trash for that.
I've only been to one event at Barclays, and it was this bad boy here, NXT Takeover New York.
Yeah, man. Pristine.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's got the little visual changer. I don't know if the camera
Hologram?
picks it up. Yeah, it's a little hologram. Yeah, these were cool tickets. Yeah, it's the only event I've ever been to at Barclays. And
you were thinking of a place in New York would have better security. This is New York, man. Y'all don't be playing around. Y'all don't play around. A bunch of wild stuff happens over here.
Come on, Hov. What are you doing? Like,
yeah,
you letting this happen?
Throw up the rock and get somebody out there, bro. Get somebody.
And
get Beanie Siegel on security or something. I don't know what's going on here.
Van Twinblade says Chicago almost hit Aubrey. Chicago is now heels. Boo, Chicago.
I mean, Chicago's kind of been heels, but they're cool heels that we like.
Delete that super chat. Like, what are you doing?
I will say this because like WWE used to approach Chicago like they were heels. I remember WrestleMania 22. JR on commentary. Yeah, I'm sure he had the directive, but like as the crowd is booing John Cena at WrestleMania, JR is like treating Cena like he triumphed over all these evil Chicagoans. And, like the last line he says is, John Cena just proved that his Spaldings are bigger than anybody's in Chicago.
JR was beefing.
Yeah.
That's you, Phil. He was talking about you, bro.
Hey.
John Cena had the bigger Spaldings that night. And Devon Griffin says CM Punk and MJF promo is at 1.6 million views on YouTube. I know the 2 highest viewed things on YouTube this week are MJF and CM Punk and Dana Brooke winning the 24/7 title. Like those are the only 2 things this week to cross 1 million views.
Flex appeal, bro.
Yeah. Damn, Sid.
Let's see. We got Mike. He says Aubrey's tweet about how Cody always tells her, "Don't freak out if the belt comes back," has to silence the Cody isn't self-aware people, right? I mean, Tony Khan said weeks ago that it's been a long time since Cody hasn't gotten the intended reaction. And so
Cody Rhodes is a smart wrestler. Everything he does is calculated. Nothing that he does is off the cuff. He's in the lab with this little notebook, like, what can I do tonight? I'm going to get them to throw my belt tonight. I'm going to get them to do what I want them to do. He's a smart guy. He'd be on some crazy stuff sometimes, but I mean, all top guys are. What can you do, man?
Yeah, being in the building to see it, I don't know.
He said he thought Seth had the golden egg. Golden egg.
That was a Waterboy tackle, though. We do have to say that he came from boom.
I mean, it was such a good tackle that the cameraman followed it. The cameraman followed it down, not realizing this wasn't wrestling.
The commentators like react to it for like 1 second. They're like, "Oh," and then they're like, "Oh."
Yeah, they're like, "Wait,
hold on."
Yeah, not the we talking about.
So, Tyrone the Positive said, wrestling media needs to hire goons. Just saying.
Hey man, if I made enough money in this thing to have goons, I would have goons, bro. I've wanted my entire life to be a supervillain and have goons.
Straight up.
Hannah again, shout out to Hannah. She said, but I always want people to tell me how many years they've watched wrestling to try and make my opinion invalid.
But how long have you been watching, Hannah? What's your favorite WrestleMania? Name 3 WrestleMania 3 matches right now and the time.
You know what? Top 5 Bret Hart matches, or you're not a wrestling fan.
Listen,
and they have to be my top 5 Bret Hart matches.
Right. If they don't align to what I say.
Yeah, if they don't align, then
yeah.
That's been driving me crazy on Twitter when someone states, like, I guess it's because I do these lists, but someone will be like, "Oh, my favorite Bret Hart matches are these 5, my favorite," and then someone will be like, "How could you forget? I said these are my favorite Bret Hart matches, not how could I forget what your favorite Bret Hart matches?" It happens every single time. This is my favorite SummerSlam match. How could you forget, bro? I'm saying for me, not for you.
I didn't forget.
I didn't forget.
Fansplaining is absolutely a thing. I feel like fans get online and they feel like they have to explain to content creators what they don't know about wrestling. I've even watched them explain to wrestlers what they think wrestlers don't know about wrestling.
Yes.
It's like, dude, shut up.
I've seen them explain to wrestlers how to take bumps, and the wrestlers like, "No, this is how you do it." And they're like, "No, this is a wrestler explaining it to you. How are you arguing with them? I don't get this. What are you doing? What's going on here?"
Now, I will say this, though, that there's 2 sides to that, because I do feel like sometimes wrestlers can get in this headspace of explaining to fans how to watch it, and I think both of those sides can kind of be wrong, right? Like, fans shouldn't necessarily, fans should never explain to a wrestler how to wrestle. At the same time, though, sometimes you could be so on the other side of it for so long that as a wrestler, you kind of forget what it's like to be a fan. Right. And sometimes it's like, also let fans kind of have their joy of it and see it the way that they see it. They don't see it necessarily the same way you do because they're not in the ring. And on that same token, like, I wouldn't necessarily expect a movie producer, even though some of them do, tell me how to watch a movie. Like, at the end of the day, like, I'm a consumer. I don't know how to make movies. I do know how to watch them, but I don't know how to make them. It's not something that I am there to do. I don't know how to make TV shows. I do know how to make music, but at the same time, like, I don't know how to make certain types of music. And so I wouldn't necessarily want anybody explaining to me how to listen to it as much as just like I wouldn't try to explain to anybody how to make it. So, like, on both ends of that, wrestlers, like,
everybody chill.
Yeah, like, don't kind of get out of the idea of like telling fans like, "Oh, you're watching this match wrong." No, actually, I'm not. I'm watching the match the way I watch a match because that's all I've ever done is watch matches. And that's it with that. We got a few more.
Critiquing is fine. There's nothing wrong with critiquing things. I just think sometimes people get overboard with their opinions, man. Definitely. You don't have to be overbearing with your opinion.
Tyrell says, I really enjoyed It Takes Two, but it definitely tries to pull at the heartstrings. Yeah, so...
It Takes Two to make a thing go right. Yeah, I like that song too. It's either the Olsen twins or that... is that Rob Bass?
Rob Bass.
Rob Bass.
Well, and it's so funny too, was... Billy, when I first told him about It Takes Two, because so he takes breakdancing lessons, right? And so that's like a go-to song for class is It Takes Two by Rob Bass, because the class is taught by dudes who grew up in the 80s.
Yo, Billy got it. Billy about to take your spot on the podcast. Soon enough, it's just going to be me.
I just want him to be Bill. I wanted him. And it's not so much that I want him to be a fly kid. He just kind of is, because like I wasn't. I was I was Urkel, right? So like right. But on the other hand, like my son is like just naturally way cooler than me. He plays
Man, we liked
basketball
wrestling. We were nerds, Will. I get it, man. Like, it's hard to like you could try to be as cool as you want, but you're like, did you watch Raw last night? It's just all out the window.
Hey, we definitely need Billy to recreate that Alfonso Ribeiro commercial where he tried to teach people breakdancing with the cassette tape.
Yeah.
He needs to recreate that commercial.
Yes.
Oh damn. Yeah, so but anyway, so with us playing that, it's just funny that shout out again to Tyrell talking about the Heartstrings. So Chris didn't warn me till afterwards, and granted, he didn't know I was going to play this with my son. He thought I was going to play this with my wife. He was like, oh, so there's like a lot of mature themes in that, and I don't know where you're at in the game yet, but it's going to take some turns. Because like the plot of the game, for those who haven't played it, is that it is these parents who are getting divorced. They don't get along. They're having problems, blah, blah, blah. Right.
This is a video game?
Yeah.
Video games have changed.
Yeah, and so it starts off with these parents, they're like arguing like at each other's throats as they walk in, and then finally they're like, you know what, I want a divorce, and like, I'm glad you finally said it, I'm done, right? And so they go in and talk to their daughter, and they're like, honey, you know, sometimes things happen, and it's that mommy and daddy have to part, and so
and they're like, also Santa's not real. Let's just get everything out the way. Let's just kill all your hopes and dreams. There's no Easter Bunny. There's no Santa. We're getting a divorce.
So she runs off in sadness, and she's got these two dolls, and she like wishes that her parents could like learn to work together or work things out. And there were two dolls she made of her parents, and like she, of course, like a tear drops and falls on the dolls, and all of a sudden the parents wake up inside the bodies of the dolls. So you're playing as the dolls and learning to work together. And
who did drugs and made this video game? What happened? This is why GTA 6 will never come out. They're making these video games that are depressing, getting everybody depressed. Work on GTA 6, bro. Why y'all putting out these sad video games? Got everybody at their house crying, playing Xbox.
That's and like it does like start off really emotional. I have no idea how much more emotional it gets, but I hear it like really takes a turn, so I'm excited.
I guess all gamers are depressed and shit, so this makes sense. Hey, shout out to y'all, man. Protect your mental health. Play some video games. Actually, just kidding. There's a bunch of triggers in the video game.
Shout out to Phantom. FTW said, yeah, I heard Cornette's little speech about Sheeta versus Deeb and openly refusing to watch the match because of her race. Very frustrating. Yeah, that's where we're at.
We're not talking about that guy anymore. It was an accident.
Not talking about it. We did enough, yeah. Jester Designs. Imagine if ROH and WWE swapped production styles. We have Brent who said Thunderdome was an eyesore. Literally, it hurt the eyes to watch. And Drew says, after personally experiencing Arthur Ashe, I never want to see a Thunderdome or empty arena for any sports again. It's tough, right? Because it's not like the pandemic went away.
And I'm like, that's not really up to us at this point.
Yeah. So I hope not. Fingers crossed that we can continue to have these shows because I've enjoyed going.
A good cry, Reg. It's hella funny.
I've enjoyed going to shows. I've enjoyed going to basketball games. Like it's all been fun. I went to an NFL game this year. I would love to continue doing that, but I do recognize that if we have to, we have to. Van Twinblade says, I must now start beef with Phil. Blues greater than Hawks. St. Louis. Hashtag.
I don't watch hockey nuts. Your beef is you don't have a basketball team.
That's real beef.
And Brent again said, speaking of gaming, Phil, how is Mass Effect going?
Mass Effect is great. It's one of those things because I'm old and I've realized I'm old and washed now. That like on Black Friday, usually I would go and buy like a ton of electronics and like look for what games are on sale. And I did this year, but I am like, oh man, Mass Effect is on sale. You could buy the whole trilogy and get it pretty cheap. I was like, sold. And so that's what I've been playing a lot lately is Mass Effect.
Nice. Yeah, I've been. You know what's funny is I got really excited. As you tell, I have an Xbox. When they announced all the backwards compatibility stuff at the Xbox 20 presentation, I had been sitting on this copy of Max Payne 3 since it came out. It came out in 2012. Never opened it, right? And then, of course, all the consoles came out, the PS4 and the Xbox One, weren't backwards compatible. So then this copy of Max Payne 3 just kind of sat off to the side. And then they added backwards compatibility to the Xbox One, but Max Payne was never in it. And so this copy just literally sat unopened since 2012. And then literally a week and a half ago, they announced, hey, guess what's backwards compatible now? Finally, 2 consoles later, Xbox Series X, Max Payne, all 3 of them backwards compatible. And I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna open this copy and finally play it. And so I popped in Max Payne 3. And I've been playing Max Payne 3. I get it, it's a 9-year-old game. But I have had a shrink-wrapped copy since it came out, and it's actually pretty okay so far. I'm not that far in. I've probably given it like 2 hours so far. But that's currently what I'm playing. So, hey, let's get back into some wrestling, though, because we're finally caught up on Super Chats. All right, here we go. The one. CM Punk and MJF finally did it. They had their verbal joust to open up Dynamite, and Phil was in the building, and it was a sight to behold, because I think this was the thing everybody was waiting for. People wanted to hear CM Punk finally roast somebody, and we've also wanted to see MJF go up against somebody who's known for roasting people, and we got it. MJF and CM Punk. What did you guys think?
Oh, man, I thought it was great. I mean, of course, partially biased because I was there. I'm a CM Punk fan.
Chicago, all the elements were right.
Well, what's on your shirt there, Philip?
CM Punk, man. Come on. Straight edge superstar, bro. No, I don't know, man. Like, the second CM Punk got there, I was like, they've got to do the MJF feud. That's the obvious feud. And so, like, I'm surprised that they're doing it this soon. I mean, really, if we're going to talk about CM Punk being there, CM Punk's only been there, 2 months now? He got there in...
Almost 3. Yeah, a little over 3, because it was August 20th. So 3 months and 7 days.
Almost 3 months, and he's done 4 shows in Chicago. I've been at all 4. Just...
Damn.
Watson.
Didn't even think about that, but holy shit.
He's done 4 shows in Chicago, and he's, I mean, in that time, he gave us the debut, he gave us the pay-per-view match, and he gave us the promo here with MJF, all within a span of 3 months. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'll say this. I appreciate the little details here, because like one of my biggest beefs with Monday Night Raw, when they open up with like a promo like this, is what were y'all gonna do otherwise? Like, you know, when somebody comes out and they have like a back and forth, like Drew McIntyre, I guess we're not there anymore, but I guess Big E will open up Raw, and then he's interrupted by Kevin Owens, and then they go back and forth, and then general manager comes out and is like, well, tonight we're gonna see you versus you. And I just think, like, what was this gonna be otherwise? Like, logically, if I take off my I know wrestling's fake goggles, what was the main event of this show going to be if this wasn't, if
right?
this segment
So you
didn't
went
take
into
place?
the show without a main event.
Yeah, you went into
right.
I'm like, what was this segment gonna be? What was Big E planned to do if he didn't just get interrupted? Was he just gonna talk? Was he just gonna be like, welcome everybody, all right, bye? If he had gotten interrupted, like little things like that. So I appreciate the idea, because a lot of people were asking, well, why did you even set up the QT Marshall match? And like, well, I appreciate the little detail of CM Punk needed a reason to be out there. And because what was it going to be otherwise? He's just going to stand there and just be like, all right, guys, bye.
It's
Hey,
Chicago. I'm happy to be here again.
Yeah, like there needed to be a little bit of something of like why he would be there in the first place, and then get caught off guard of like, oh, MJF is interrupting me when I'm just coming out here to have my damn match. And so, you know, you kind of create the logic of so I'm reading the chat right now, but and there's some funny shit being said, but I just appreciate the little logic of, hey, CM Punk has a reason to be out here, but he's been cut off by MJF. So just that little detail is one of those things that I appreciate. And I also do appreciate that if you're going to do something like this, which is a 20-minute promo between two people, don't go to that well too often. And I also did appreciate that it was something that was rare for AEW. And there's a lot of shit said. That said, this wasn't entirely for everybody. Such as Reg.
Initially when it was happening, I liked it. I was like, okay, I like what this is happening. And I like that this is happening. But then when it's over and it's 5:30 and we've wasted 30 minutes and we only have 3 hours of wrestling a week and we wasted 30 minutes on one promo segment, I can't. I don't care what company it is. I just like wrestling in the ring so much that a 20-minute promo, I don't. Triple H has destroyed them for me. So anybody that ever does them, anybody that starts a show with a 20-minute promo, I'm like, it could be my mom coming out for a 20-minute promo. I'm like, Mom, I don't care. Leave me alone. This is like, I'm just so stuck in that. I know it's Vince McMahon head, but it is. And like, even if you do great things, I'm still going to be like, well, we could have been watching someone else wrestle for 15 of these minutes. Let's just cut this in half, get to the point. We know what's going on here. We don't have to just do it. I mean, I understand. I liked it. I liked what they did there. I like that MJF got to go toe-to-toe with this hero, man. I was just watching an MJF documentary legit like 5 days before it, and he's in his room. He has that little picture of CM Punk, and he's like, oh, that's just me and CM Punk. And he's so happy, that he was having the greatest time of his life. CM Punk got to be in his element. They all had a great time. But 30 minutes wasted away on a 2-hour show is insane when you have a roster that's crazy, when you have a bunch of women wrestlers that don't get any shine, when you have a bunch of black wrestlers that aren't out here. There could have just been half of this accomplished in the time. We could have had a different segment. This show, there was a couple of things during Dynamite that I didn't like, and I like this, but I also didn't like it, if you feel what I'm saying.
I'm sorry. I love it.
I know, of course.
I love it.
And the funny thing is, I was thinking like a 30 minutes, like if I go to a show, I don't want to see a 30-minute promo. Like I said, I don't care if my mom is doing it. I don't want to see 30 minutes of a promo if I paid to come and watch a show. But you were there and you enjoyed it, so everybody's different.
There are certain smart things that they did here. I mean, first of all, having him come out and interrupt MJF last week and setting up the promo this week. So everyone basically knew they were going to do the promo in Chicago. Again, just having this guy have his debut in Chicago. By the way, first GTS since he's been back, also in Chicago. All of this stuff in the span of 3 months and like going like, all right, I know this is going to do what it does. Like maybe that same 20-minute promo wouldn't have hit the same somewhere else, but this is Chicago. Like him doing it here is different. And so, yeah, I definitely understand not wanting to see long promos. That's not something AEW does. But we're talking about you've got the guy in your company who's considered the best talker in your company and a guy that at the time where he came from was considered the best talker where he was in a ring. Like this isn't just, any long promo. These are guys that are considered top echelon talkers.
I get it. Yeah. I just have a question of when are they going to do the match? If the match is in 5 months, like, I don't need a 20-minute promo now because you guys got 5 months to build this. There's so many elements. There's so many questions. I'm interested. I like it. I think
this
it was great. I think they achieved what they needed to achieve for sure. They could have did it in 10 minutes though, because they're both really good at what they do. They could have started the show 5 o'clock and they could have been going at it in the ring. I also think, honestly, they could have did this promo not on camera. Somebody recorded and then it would spread like the same way online. You could achieve the same thing a different way. I think you can.
I don't know if I agree with that part because I don't think you have the same energy in the building if you just do this as a backstage back and forth.
No. I'm saying still do it in the ring in front of the crowd, but it's not during Dynamite. Like it's after the show. The crowd would still be wild. And then it'll still spread like wildfire. We still have the promos, still have the YouTube, we still have everything, but we got 30 minutes of Dynamite to do something else.
It's kind of the same adage of starting Rampage with Punk on his debut. It's like you're at the height of the energy when you come in. Like everybody's excited for what they're going to do. And that was the first thing they got. Like if that's after the show when everybody is kind of exhausted their energy, cheering on other things all show, I don't think it would have the same reaction in the building, at least.
I'm with Phil on this because I do feel like there's something about the energy of it, and there was something about because it almost had like a tune in to watch this kind of feel. Because like my brother messaged me and he's like, "Hey, are you watching this right now?" And I was like, "Of course I'm watching it." But I feel like it did have that moment of, oh my God, we're finally getting these two guys who are known for being verbal guys, and we're finally getting these two in the ring, and this is what they are known for. Now, I do agree that it was a little too long. I thought MJF kind of went in circles a little bit and like was almost like reaching in a bag of like, oh, let me pull out another one. But for the most part, I did think it went on a little bit longer than it needed to. I think it probably would have felt shorter if QT Marshall just came in and got GTS'd. 1, 2, 3, we're done. Like, then this segment didn't go an entire promo, then match, commercial break, come back, finish the match. And, like, we did take up a half an hour of this show on CM Punk, and there's other things I probably wanted to see. But I thought all the jabs hit. I even thought that MJF throwing the UFC shade, and all CM Punk's response to it was, oh, that was a low-hanging fruit, and then moved on. And it's like, yeah, but you've never addressed that on TV.
Like, we haven't really talked about it.
We haven't really talked about it. And, like, it's a good jab still.
I don't think it's a low-hanging fruit for that because, like, CM Punk hasn't, like, every wrestler is going to say that because that's, like, wrestling 101. Like, you got beat up, dude. I saw you get beat up. I'm gonna do it again. Every wrestler's gonna bring that up forever because that's it's what it is. You know what I mean? They couldn't say that to Brock Lesnar because he only got beat up like once or twice and it was different, you know?
Yeah, and even still, some people have. And it's just, and the comeback to that is, I mean, well, then show up then. And and then Brock kicks your ass.
You could do what Brock did and just have the guy that beat you in UFC come to WWE just so you can get their win back, and then he disappears.
That's Hogan 101. Yeah, that's Hogan 101.
Yep. Yeah, you got to do it Hogan style. No, but I thought the jabs were good. A lot of people, especially AEW critics, were down on AEW bringing up this WWE guys. You know, they threw the shots at Miz. It wasn't even a shot at Miz. He called MJF less famous Miz. And then they brought up John Cena and brought up Triple H and all of that stuff.
But the reason that I don't think the reason why they shouldn't be mad is because these are things I've heard online before. Like, I've heard these same fans say that. So it's like, well, how are you mad at what you said?
I don't understand people that get mad at that because I think they're making it singularly about WWE. I don't think anything in that promo meant, oh, we're taking the shots and we're mentioning WWE on our programming. I think AEW excels at rewarding wrestling fans for being wrestling fans. And if you watch CM Punk on WWE, if you watch them at Ring of Honor, they always mention that stuff. Like, they mention New Japan as well. They mention all of this stuff because they don't act like they're the only wrestling company and we're not going to mention anything outside our walls like some people do.
Well, and that's where I'll agree with something Chris Jericho said.
Oh, he's trying to get
right? Don't just isolate that statement. But Jericho one time was asked about why he referenced the Mike Tyson stuff in AEW programming when it happened on Raw. And he said, I don't care where it happened. It happened in my career. So at the end of the day, he's like, it's not a Raw story. That's not a WWE story. That's my story. Like, I didn't just start existing in AEW.
And wrestling fans aren't dumb also. Like, I know that CM Punk was in WWE. I know that Chris Jericho was in WWE. So if you mention WWE, I saw it. Don't be trying to be all like, oh, what? Don't mention. We know what you're talking about, dude. Don't like, and not insulting our intelligence, which is great.
And I agree with that because I feel like, look, these guys did come from other places. They have been other places. AEW has only existed for 2 years. This isn't a company that can afford to only acknowledge its own history because they don't have any. Exactly. You didn't conjure MJF. Or, MJF kind of did, but you didn't conjure CM Punk out of thin air. Like, this is a guy who is a veteran. Where did the rest of his career exist? Who does the rest of his career exist with? And the thing is, also, yeah, those shots work. When you hear that kind of stuff, people go,
Exactly.
oh, like, at the end of the day, there is no harm in getting pops out of people and getting reactions out of people. And this kind of stuff did get reactions out of people. Like, Miz ain't mad that he got mentioned.
He's the cool one in this thing. That he's saying he's cool. Like, yeah, mention me again, bro. I want to be mentioned on every wrestling show.
If it gets heat on Miz, that Miz is a heel.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what he wants. I mean, I don't know. I think people looking at this as a bad thing of, oh, don't mention stuff from here. Don't mention. I mean, imagine if we could get WWE to mention Bullet Club on WWE programming. That's something we want. So why are we mad when AEW mentions things from other companies that they should mention? And I mean, I don't know. I just think people are so stuck in stop taking shots at WWE. Oh, like and
they weren't even shots at WWE. Like,
they weren't
like,
shots at
the end of the day. They were shots at the person he was talking to. Like, saying that you're less famous Miz isn't a shot at Miz. That's a shot at MJF.
Right.
Saying that CM Punk, you're becoming John Cena. Like, that's not a shot at John Cena. That is a shot at CM Punk and things that CM Punk was against 10 years ago. Saying that the only way that you'll ever be number one around here is if you marry. I guess that's a shot at Triple H.
That was a shot at Triple H for sure.
That's a shot at Triple H.
He's gonna catch one though. They're beefing for real.
But I mean, the Punk thing, the whole purpose of his last feud with Eddie Kingston is to make Punk look like a hypocrite. So why wouldn't MJF bring that up? That's a part of their storytelling they've been doing.
Right.
Now that does bring up a question though, because I saw, Reg, that you had the opinion one way. This promo or the Punk and Eddie Kingston promo?
Phil, I'll let you go for it.
That's not a fair question. That's not a fair question. That's not a fair question.
I said is Eddie Kingston a better promo than MJF? That's where I got to. Because a lot of people were saying I like Eddie Kingston's stuff better that he did.
I thought you meant was this promo better or who is a better promo?
I said whose promo. Will was saying is this better than that?
I think Kingston's a better talker than MJF for sure. Right. But in terms of which of those promos was better, I don't know, man, because I do feel like in some ways they did more with less, meaning Punk and Kingston. But at the same time, like, you can't just count me being in the building and certain things that go into it. Like, it's hard for me to just be like, no, that was absolutely better. I don't know. I right now I feel like Punk MJF probably gets the edge for me.
I like the Kingston thing because I wanted to see them fight immediately. This CM Punk and MJF is like, we're gonna build. After the Punk and Kingston promo is like, fight tonight. I want to see you guys brawl. But this other promo is like, we want to see more. We want to see where the story develops. It's different. They're two different.
They're different.
Very different.
I think that we end up getting at least 2 matches out of it. I think I don't see this ending before Revolution, but I also don't see them holding off on the match till Revolution. I mean, they've done it before with MJF. They did. MJF and Cody started right after Full Gear, and they didn't have the match till Revolution. But they did everything they could to keep that shit going as long as they could. They had the 5 labors. Actually, they did that twice, right? Because they did the 5 labors of Jericho, and they did the 5 labors of Cody, where Cody had to go through the 5 things and get lashes and all of that. They did all that shit to finally get to the match with MJF and Cody. I don't know if you can do that again. I think you probably have to pay it off one time or do it once and then maybe have some kind of
But damn, 5 labors of CM Punk would be pretty good, though. That's the only thing that's awful about it is like, damn, that would be good, though.
I mean,
they have a lot of angles to take.
I do think we're getting Punk Wardlow before that. I feel like definitely. That's probably going to happen.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, it's just a lot of time because what the rumor for Revolution is March 6th, and we're still in November. Right. So, like, holy crap, that's 3 whole months.
I mean, you could do it at New Year's Smash. You can,
and then
not at Winter is Coming, though. That's way too soon.
Yeah, Winter is Coming. What? That's just December, week after next.
Yeah,
that's December 15th.
15th, I think.
Oh, I have to miss that. I'll be at the Nuggets game. I won free tickets.
Oh, let's go, baby!
Look at this humble
They
brag.
heard that
This
you
guy
can win, and they were like, "Hey, somehow get this guy tickets because every time he's in the building, we be
No,
winning."
okay. You know what though? I mean, when I say I won tickets, it's like so. My boss has season tickets that are in the box, courtside, and just like he's just got season tickets all over the building, right? So it's one of those things where he likes to make sure his employees are like actually working or paying attention. So he'll send out an email every couple of days, and it'll just be like, 10th response to this email gets my tickets for this game. And so it's like one of those, hey, are you paying attention? Because you could be winning at work if you're actually like focused on your work. Because the only way you'd see that is if you're smart enough to have your emails on your phone.
I mean, if there's Nugget tickets in my email, I'm gonna have 5 notifications on, bro.
Right.
Every time.
But so you gotta be smart about it, right? Because he always picks a random number. He'll be like 16th response to this gets it. So I'm like, okay, gotta pause and wait a couple minutes or a couple seconds because I don't want to be too early. I don't want to be too late. And yeah, I won them though. So actually, these particular tickets, Eric Brady won for me. So shout out to Eric Brady, RBR, my former RBR co-host. So I very much appreciate those. Thank you, Eric. But yeah, so I have to miss Winter is Coming. But anyway, super chats. Got Tremaine saying, I enjoyed the promo, but when did being called the Miz? When did that become an insult? Miz is cool. Depends on who you ask.
I'm like, what kind of cool are we talking about?
He's kind of a dork, and I mean that in the wrestling sense. I mean that in the sense of like, which is weird too, because if you've met that dude is big, right?
And like, he's in real life, like his wife, like he's winning. Like there's nothing dorky about the man.
Like only pro wrestling could take somebody who's like in his shape and be like, actually, he's a geek. But like you put, because like when he was on even like the Real World, or when he does like reunions and stuff, or like you see him on a talk show, and like he's like, so much bigger than everybody else on set. When he's like on Jimmy Fallon, and he just looks like he just dwarfs Jimmy Fallon because he's a muscular dude. But then in WWE, it's like, nah, this guy's actually a geek. And it's.
And it just stuck for so long. They just called him a geek so much when he debuted that forever he's a geek. But it's like, no, he's not really a geek. He stopped being a geek like 15 years ago. Like it's been a long time.
Also, he lost the title to Bobby Lashley in seconds, right?
Right.
Like at the end of the day, like this dude, like he is portrayed as a geek no matter what.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's an insult, but you gotta look at Punk's history with Miz as well.
Right.
Like the reason he would say that you're a less important Miz is because Miz is seen as an outsider to some wrestlers. He's always going to be seen as an outsider to some wrestlers, no matter what he does. And I don't think that's fair, but I do think that's somehow how wrestlers look at him. I mean, he's just on Dancing with Stars. He's seen as not just a wrestler. He's seen as an entertainer. Right. And I feel like that is exactly what MJF doesn't want to be. And so it's a very pointed jab at him.
Yeah, I like that. We got T. Daniel Barber says MJF, CM Punk are probably the only guys in AEW that could go 20 minutes. That said, it took a long time.
I mean, we just talked about Eddie Kingston. He could definitely stretch it out, I think.
Yeah. And then Night Tracks. The promo was more interesting than the QT match. Yeah, I said, you probably could have just like go to sleep to him, and that was it.
QT, man. They got QT, and then they followed it up with the Gun Club. My bros, what are y'all doing?
Yeah, come on, man. Had to send the My Chop evolution chart out there.
Yeah. And then we had Punk's reaction to the Miz chant was legendary. We had and that was good too. Jay Blood says the subtext of the entire story of Punk's AEW story is his legacy people love him for, and his last that haunts on the flip side. You have to mention it.
Yeah.
And yep, that's
next are they gonna stop? They're gonna say stop talking about being out for 7 years. Like, no, that's a part of the story. What do you want from us?
You knew MJF was coming with that. You knew he was gonna say he peaked in 2011. Like you knew those were all jabs he was gonna come. And the thing I think that was great about this segment is that every time I felt like MJF kind of cornered him, or I feel like Punk kind of said something about him, like, oh, you got him there, he would come back. Like, I feel like he would say something. It's like, oh, well, he's fighting back. Like, so I didn't feel like anybody came out on top of this. And that's what made it so great. Like, I didn't feel like either of them won this.
Right. It was pretty even.
And then we have Probable Cause says, I mean, I understand why Miz is looked at as a geek because it's not like he has matches to stand on as a body of work to stand on, keeping it 100.
Big agree. I couldn't even tell you a Miz match right now. If they put a gun to my head, I'd be like,
I mean, yeah,
he lost to Bobby Lashley. I don't know.
Miz is a great character. I don't think most people are going to look at him like, oh, you know, he's this phenomenal technical wrestler, but I think he's definitely one of the better characters in the company over the last decade or so.
He's one of the best WWE, just like straight up WWE guys of all time. You can't take that away from him.
I do have an issue with how he's been presented in that I feel like once you start somebody's evolution, you shouldn't go back on it. And I feel like WWE did with him, which is where like he did start as a geek, but there was a point where he was starting to come off legitimate, right? And that he was like even in 2011, like he was starting to have more in the main event with John Cena. That was a competitive.
He got with R-Truth, and he wasn't a geek, and he was cool.
And that was a competitive match, right? Like he had competitive stuff. And then 2016, when he like really took off, and he had that Intercontinental title run, and then like the next year, they gave him the Miz Taraj, and he was like having competitive matches with Roman and stuff. And it really felt like you were starting to elevate him. And then like once he got put with Morrison. Or back with Morrison, is like, nah, he's a geek again. And
it's so dumb because he has a TV show. Like, it's the opposite. They should be like leaning in on it, but they're like, no, actually, he's a big geek.
The worst thing they did with him was trying to make him a face with the Shane stuff. It just didn't work because everything interesting about him is that you want to see. In some ways, he would make a good babyface because you want to see him continue to lose and finally get that win. But the thing that makes him so interesting is that he knows what the people in the back think of him. He knows what the crowd thinks of him in some ways. And he's just like, nope, I'm going to continue to do it until I prove you wrong and not in an underdog way so I can rub it in your face.
That I'm exactly.
Yeah.
And so, and I feel like that is a heel tendency. He's just not a baby face.
He's not. You want to see him talk about all of his accomplishment and rub it in our faces. That's the biggest thing.
You want to see. Yeah, you want to see him get comeuppance at some point too.
So we had, I guess, continuing on the topic, Phil, you were at Dynamite/Rampage.
So you had to see the Gun Club. How was Billy Gunn?
So, I mean, you were in the Wintrust Arena. I thought on TV that was a really cool looking arena. Like, we had seen it for Revolution, and that was the first wrestling show done at Wintrust Arena. But this was the first Dynamite, and also in an era where AEW's lighting the crowd better than they were when they first started. So you get to see more of the arena. I thought it was a really cool looking building on TV. How was it?
Y'all were hot too. It was hot. It started off.
Listen, Tony Khan, I want my $35 back.
Oh man.
No, it was first of all, like, I don't know, people that are not in Chicago, being able to just hop on the subway and get to a show and not having to make an entire trek all the way out to Hoffman Estates. I need it. I need more shows in the city. I need less shows out in Rosemont or wherever else. That is not Chicago. I know everybody advertises as Chicago. That is not Chicago. Hoffman Estates is not Chicago.
That's like 30 minutes outside Chicago.
Exactly. It's not Chicago. So I definitely like being able to get to and from a show a lot quicker, not having to worry about, oh man, I got to make this long commute. That was great. It's something about, I know people like that, you know, massiveness of getting to see shows in these huge stadiums and, you know, seeing the lights come on and seeing just how far the crowd goes up. But there's also something about like seeing wrestling in intimate, small venues. And I feel like this venue was large enough because they do host basketball games there for college and WNBA. But
World Wrestling NBA.
World Wrestling, WNBA, you know, sorry, home of the, you know, WNBA champion, Chicago Sky. But no, I it's something about like smaller arenas and just how, I mean, you can see that with Allstate because Allstate's not a huge arena. And it's just something about smaller arenas because it feels like the crowd is louder at certain points. It feels like you can hear all of the intimate chants in that place. And I feel like that's what made it such a fun show. And I mean, it was a high crowd. I don't feel like I rarely go to anything in Chicago where it's not a high crowd. I mean,
Chicago's a hotbed.
Yeah, I've been to indie shows and I feel like it's loud in there because that's how Chicago is. Chicago's a sports town.
Yeah, I,
So
I have a question about you've been to a couple of the ones that are Rampage and Dynamite. How is it with like the transition to the next show? Like, how's the crowd? What's happening in here?
I mean, I always feel like it's long because I feel like they film Dark and then Dynamite and then
Right.
you have Rampage. So I feel
Mhm.
like you
That's a
have to
lot.
be prepared for a long undertaking when you come to these things sometimes.
Mhm.
And that's why sometimes I don't really care about sitting through all of the Dark matches. I know I'm going to watch them anyway.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's long. It's you got to be prepared for the slog of getting there at 6 and then leaving at whatever 10 or 11. That's
It's
long.
like WrestleMania size shows, huh? Every time. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
but no, I thought it was a great show. I feel like it had its dips. Like, I mean, following up that promo with a long QT match was a choice.
Interesting. Yeah.
I don't know why. I feel like that could have been a lot shorter. Then following it with Gun Club was kind of like, all right, the Gun Club, I guess. And I mean, the Darby stuff after the match was good. I mean, I personally like Bear Country. I think they're great, but
Me too.
the
Especially
match
because they had such a good showing on Dark the night before. I wouldn't have had them lose after
Nah, me
having
neither.
that showing the match from Orlando on Dark where they won pretty solidly and then cut that promo. And I thought that promo was good and had some good material. And I thought, okay, maybe Bear Country can go on a bit of a tear now. And
Nah,
then they
man.
lost the Gun Club the next night.
Right.
Nah, seismic toss is super effective.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like that, I feel like there were lows in the show, but I feel like it was mostly a fun show. And I think that's mostly because the crowd was great. So of course,
I thought from the Darby moment on, by the way.
That's crazy.
From the Darby moment on, I thought the show was kind of on.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I feel like once it got to the women's match, I was
Yeah.
glad that the crowd was very into the women's match. Thunder Rosa is,
The best.
I mean,
I love
she's over
Rosa.
anyway. So I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like there is a
She
big
can bring a crowd back on any show, pretty much. Her energy is something else, man.
It blows my mind, by the way, because she is somebody that I consider to be, especially for AEW, a bit of a pandemic era act. And you know, there's a lot of questions about how over acts that were introduced during the crowdless eras would be, right? And like a lot of people were like, there was questions about her theme music, and they're like, is this right for her? Blah blah blah. But man, since crowds have been back, when those opening drums hit and the crowd just goes nuts for Thunder Rosa, it like never fails. She is. You could tell too if she's not going to be on Dynamite that week. They usually make sure she's the first act out for Dark because, and I've watched exactly why when I went to, I've been to 2 Dynamites in the last year, and sure enough, both times we're all in our seats and they're like, all right, it's time for Elevation. Thunder Rosa, and crowd fucking loses it, right? And then they lose it, and it's like it's the perfect way to get the crowd capped off, right? I mean, to get them started. And so in this case, in Chicago, she was super over, but that's not a slide on Jamie because Jamie also had a really good reaction out there.
Yeah, and I mean, I saw this firsthand. I was in the hallway for the United Center show when Thunder Rosa came out, and I can hear the pop for her all the way out in the hallway. And that's why I'm like, and I mean, I don't know, people understand like there's a huge contingency of Latina fans here. There's a Latinx fan base here, and so I feel like when she came out, you can hear it. I mean, I feel like that was the same thing with the Lucha Bros when they won it all out. Like you could hear just how loud the fans was behind them, and I feel like that was the same thing here. So it was smart having her match here. I don't know if that was intentional, but it was smart.
Right.
Man, it's so funny because I feel like as much as people hate Cody, the crowd is into booing Cody. And this is why I feel like Cody heat is so interesting because the internet will tell you that nobody wants him here. And let me tell you, being in the crowd, it's not go away heat. People enjoy booing this man. And I mean, this goes all the way into him throwing the belt into the crowd and getting started to throw it back chant, which was hilarious. I don't care. I don't think Aubrey was intentionally hit with the belt. I know people are like, oh, you guys hit Aubrey. I don't think
she even said it didn't hit her. She said it looked like it did, but it hit the ropes.
I mean, you can see how she reacted to it, that come on, man. Like, I think people made a bigger deal out of that than it needed to be. But I think all of that stuff was intentional. I think him throwing the belt in the crowd and people, getting up to throw it back in, and then Andrade taking the belt and throwing it under the ring. All of that stuff was great. I've seen people talk about just how great Pac is. You would have thought Pac was a nobody watching this thing live, because more people were invested in booing Cody. I don't know what that means, but it does mean something.
That means we got to see Cody on our TV every week, Phil. That's what it means.
And I mean, I was questionable about Cody main eventing and having the 8-man tag. And 8-man tag was one of the funnest parts of the night because of all of the Cody heat around it. It just being in that crowd and just booing Cody was fun. It was fun. And I mean, you could go into how when he got in there, everybody was having fun booing it, but it's not like people were trying to hijack the match, because when he got out of the match and the Lucha Bros got in there, people were invested in the Lucha Bros. It's not like people were booing the Lucha Bros and the other baby faces. They were only booing Cody.
I mean, it's I know people think it's an absurd comparison, but like, it's John Cena, man. Like, this was, and no, I think Cody is at John Cena's level. Not really, no. But do I believe that in the scope of AEW versus the scope of WWE, then are people treating it the same way? Of like, because it is that kind of that same idea where like people were screaming, look, we just think John Cena is corny and we want him to turn. And that was like what people were screaming all at the time, that he got booed for 10 years. Longer, actually. But
so long. They never
I feel like
him.
They weren't really like positive reactions until really just like 2 years ago. But either way, it was a strong negative reaction for Cena. And while a lot of people claimed it was go away heat, people were like, no, I just don't want to see him on my TV. That's why I'm booing him. But at the end of the day, like, you're reacting and and you're giving him this huge reaction, and you're making the atmosphere fun, and you're making it lively. And the only time that wrestling should ever deal with somebody needing to go away is if they're not generating anything at all. Like when I hear all the discussion around like Brian Cage, and people are like, well, what's the deal with Brian Cage? How come you're not using him? Nobody fucking cared. Like when Brian Cage was on TV, he's had in front of crowds, he had the 2 matches with Ricky Starks. Crowd was in Ricky Starks' favor both times. Now, granted, one of them was in Ricky Starks' most known town of Austin, Texas. But the other one wasn't. People just like Ricky Starks better than Brian Cage. People don't care about Brian Cage. So, like, Brian Cage ain't going to be on TV. On the other hand...
Do you want Brian Cage in Team Taz or Dante? I'll wait.
I'm curious as to what's going on with that, because... I have a feeling the 2 contracts plays some part in that. Maybe one of them wasn't the real contract. What did he actually sign? But either way, for the moment, Team Taz has a new member.
Yeah, I thought it was a great swerve. But yeah, I mean, all the way down to Ricky's face when he was watching him sign it, which was amazing. Everything about that segment was great. Him taking the chip. It was great.
I had the same kind of emotion of the promo. At first, I was like, so I had 2 different emotions. At first, I was like, oh my God, Dante and Leo are broken up. They were a great tag team. And then my second emotion was like, oh, now Dante and Leo can wrestle, and I want to see that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, oh man, it's so the Cody stuff is just so funny because it's just so weird, because I don't even want to spend a whole bunch of time talking about Cody, but it just was so fascinating to watch it in person. And I think this cemented for me, he's doing this on purpose. He is definitely playing into the heat. People that are like, oh, he doesn't want to turn because, he doesn't want to be here. I don't think that's what's happening at all. I think he knows very well what's happening, and he's playing into it. I mean, I think it was Cam that was saying that he got treated like Cena in front of the ECW crowd, and that was a very apt comparison, all the way to him throwing the belt in and it being thrown back. That's why I was like, all of this is intentional. After the match and it went dark, he got DDT'd onto cement by Andrade, and the whole place cheered. and he just milked it.
Vegeta, you deserve it.
Right.
Yeah,
He deserves it.
exactly, exactly, and he milked it the whole way. I was like, "There's no way he's not doing this on purpose."
No, he knows, and he knew that if he did that in Chicago, that's the reaction that he's going to get. If I throw my belt to Chicago, they're going to throw it back because they are those type of fans.
Yeah, their indie crowd. Like he knows where he is.
Yep.
And you know what the best thing is to me too? Look, I know people hate it, and I think he should continue to do it because people hate it. But his entrance is so absurd.
It is. It's ridiculous.
The best part
It's ridiculous.
is the reaction
so
it gets though. Lights go out. Like it's one of those things. It's like Cena, right? Where when Cena started to get cheered, when the opening note of his music hits, it sounds weird to me not hearing boos with it now. To where like it sounds off. To the same deal when I think I had like a wrestling playlist on the other day, and the Cody Prelude like came on my playlist just because it was
Wrestling has more than one.
But when that Prelude hits, right, the you know what I'm talking about, when the chandelier is coming up, that came on this Spotify playlist, and as soon as it hit, my brain wanted to hear boos, and I'm like, nah, this is the actual song, but like. I'm so used to it now. It's the same thing with like Adam Cole's music. I can't hear Adam Cole's music without wanting to hear the crowd singing along. And this is another one where I can't hear that opening to Cody's music without immediately thinking the crowd is gonna shit on it.
You weren't waiting for Snoop to come in and go, holy moly.
You know what's funny too? There is something about, you know, a lot of people are like, when did it start with Cody? When did fans start to despise him? That Snoop Dogg theme, I think, played a big part.
I hated it.
It doesn't fit. Cody doesn't need why was Cody have a Snoop theme song?
And not just that, but it didn't sound like a Snoop flow. It sounded like something that was written for Snoop, and he just like read it into his phone and then emailed it. Because what did he say? He said, "There's no way you can slam me. Wrestling has more than one royal family." And it's like, no, that ain't even a line that Snoop Dogg thought of off the top of it. Like, no, you know Snoop Dogg flows. You know what Snoop Dogg brings to the table. And you know that is something he would have never in his life said. You know he ain't never heard that phrase in his life. And, like, because the Sasha Banks one, like, that's very clearly he's just...
You can never slam me. That's so funny.
Oh, man.
I can definitely slam you, okay?
The Snoop Cody theme is terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible, and I feel like that played into it. Hey, let's read some super chats. Tremaine says Billy Gunn is 58 years old and looks ridiculous.
Insane. It's huge.
Ridiculous. Jay Shell, shout out Jay Shell. She said Jamie has such an underrated theme. IMO, she does. I love that theme. And shout out Mikey Ruckus on that. T. Daniel Barber says, would Cody still be in his spot without that a go-go promo?
I think it started before then.
I think that was kind of sealed it.
Yeah.
If you track it back, I think he first started getting booed during the Revolution ladder match when he was milking it in Gorilla, and everybody you could see people going like, I'm tired of this. And the thing with wrestling fans, especially in an arena, like chants are infectious. Once one person starts, and like this might be people that are really, really tired of him and they actually want to boo him. And once it catches on, it's on. And I feel like that was a thing in the arena on Wednesday. Once the boos caught on, it was over.
Yeah. Ken says, if Cody does a full-on heel turn, people will cheer because they'll finally get what they want. Same happened with heel Roman. He gets cheered. I think heel Roman benefited, though, from the Thunderdome because they were able to give him the fake boos for a little while. And they still are, by the way. They're still using Thunderdome sounds, especially on SmackDown. And like when Raw's attendance is low, you can like tell they're like, all right, finger on the button. And let's see.
I don't know if Cody's ever gonna do a full heel turn. I don't even know if that exists in I don't think he's gonna do it. I think he's gonna continue on this just like super heavy.
Yeah, shout out Tremaine says, I just wish Hikaru Shida was as over as Rosa. She's one of 4 champions and had the longest reign of all of them. She's really over though. Like, I mean, Holy Shida chants happen every time she's out there. Last week with Nyla Rose. She got a chance. I don't think she's as over as Thunder Rosa. I think there's something special about Thunder Rosa. They definitely tapped into something with Thunder Rosa, but that's okay. Some people aren't as over as other people, but she's over. That's not to say that Hikaru Shida's not. She gets good reactions in her matches with Deeb. Every time crowd was into Shida, and I think if I were Tony Khan, hey Tony Khan, here's a free one. If I were Tony Khan, and obviously Shida versus Deeb 3 is on the horizon, and it's on the horizon without another pay-per-view coming up for another 3 months. I would let that main event the Dynamite it runs, whichever one it is. Shida and Deeb. I think it is big enough feeling. I think crowd was very into it last time. I think, or open it. I would like to see it open just because I want to see them go without a commercial break, and the AEW opener always seems to go without a commercial break. So either open or close with Shida and Deeb. I think you can, and I think it would get a phenomenal reaction.
Yeah, I would love to see them get a big stipulation match similar to the Britt and Rosa match. I feel like them doing like a 2 out of 3 falls match or something like that. I think that would be great. But yeah, I think Shida's appreciated in a different way than Rosa. I don't think it's that some fans don't appreciate her. I think it's just different.
It's different.
Well, like Shida, and she still has my tweet pinned on her Twitter. But there was a crowd that was hugely there for Britt Baker at Double or Nothing when I was there. But as soon as the match was over, whole crowd chants "Thank you, Shida," and I took a video of that and I posted it. And it's still Shida's pinned tweet because that was a touching reaction, right? It was like nobody was booing her that night when they wanted Britt to win. It was just like we want Britt to win, but we still love Shida. And as soon as Britt won, crowd chants "Thank you, Shida." Like you can't. Of course,
I didn't talk about this, but man, the fact that Punk keeps putting Britt Baker over is fantastic.
Yeah.
And the fact that people love Britt the way they do, and they still understand what Riho's role is. When Riho came out, she is still a beloved babyface, and people still cheer for her, even though they like Britt Baker. And I feel like that says something about how AEW builds their characters.
Right.
We didn't even talk about Rampage, but because there's 3 other matches you got to see after that.
And Bryan Danielson was there too. You got to see Bryan Danielson.
Got to see him kick somebody's teeth out.
Literally kicked out.
Yeah, he literally kicked someone's teeth out of their head.
Yeah.
Classic
that was
Bryan
cool. Sorry for Cold's teeth or tooth, but yeah, he played that up well. I was worried too, like when he grabbed the tooth, I was like, now the ultimate heel thing to do would be to throw it. But I'm like, but I know he's also playing a heel, and he's smart enough to hold on to it because Colt's gonna need that back. So
I mean, but that's like I said with the MJF thing, planning to have that promo in Chicago, and then planning to have a beloved Chicago indie wrestler get his teeth kicked out in Chicago for heel heat is smart. It just is.
Yeah, that was great. Brian, and I love that he milked it because he knew what people were anticipating him saying when he was like, you know what I call that? And I'm like, he's going to say it. Say fickle. Say fickle. And he's like,
he said it.
Fickle. Like, yeah, he did it.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought that was weird. I've seen people like, oh, why is he mentioning W? Because it's his career. Just like when he did he came up to Justin Roberts and adjusted his tie.
When people say that
Bryan
like Danielson is a WWE guy, it grinds my gears. Bryan Danielson is not a WWE wrestler. Stop saying that.
Let me tell you, Reg. As a matter of fact, I'm throwing it out there right now. Look, remember how I said I don't like beef with people, I beef with takes? Look, we are going to get the heads, folks. If I hear one person, the first person I see refer to Shane Strickland as a WWE guy. No.
These right here.
Yeah.
Baby, come on.
And you know what's going to happen. You know
they're going to say it.
Yeah, somebody's going to say, they're like, oh, Shane Strickland, another WWE guy.
No, not. Don't.
No, he's not.
Say it.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
No, not at all. And we will have beef if that is the case.
Don't do it.
Hey, man.
It's going to be great, too. I can't wait.
I want the smoke on that one. I'll take the smoke.
Yeah. So, well, speaking of wanting the smoke, I'm curious as to what we're going to generate with this next one. I mean, I don't think I will have the takes that some people think I'm gonna have. But final one, because it's been a topic across the board. Everybody's been having this conversation. It's time for Grapsody to have this conversation as well, ladies and gentlemen. Roman Reigns. We still feeling it? Roman Reigns, of course, turned heel at SummerSlam 2020. It was during the Thunderdome era. It was actually the first Thunderdome pay-per-view that he came out at, and he returned. Pretty much Roman Reigns was kind of the guy of the Thunderdome. It existed for him. And he got to kind of put the character together, and he became the tribal chief, the head of the table. Finally, some Roman Reigns catchphrases that caught on because he had a million others that didn't, like the big dog never really caught on. Remember when he was the guy? That didn't really catch on. He had I can, I will on a t-shirt, and then he didn't, so he can't. And there was a lot of Roman Reigns stuff that just didn't catch on. One against all. What was that? But finally, he's got one. The tribal chief, head of the table. That stuff has caught on. He is a star.
And you know what happens anytime something catches on in the WWE? We're going to shove it down your throats. We're going to make you hate it. You like this? Well, good. You're going to hate it. You like pizza? Well, we're going to give you pizza every single night of your life at the same time at 8 p.m. to which you hate pizza. Roman Reigns is pizza that you hate, bro. How do you force me to hate pizza? You did it here. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. So the question is now, he just had his Survivor Series match. A really quick shout out to Shanika. She said, "We're about to put up Dukes like Daniel Garcia."
Mm-hmm. That boy Dan Garcia.
Shout out Dan Garcia. But the question is, so looking out post Survivor Series, a match that Roman Reigns really didn't need to win. Big E really needed that win more than Roman did.
What happened here?
And because a lot of people have said, well, Roman needs to win. Roman can't afford to lose. But then that begs the question, then is he as strong as you think he is? Because in that case, if he can't afford to lose, then there's still some fragility to him. Now, I don't think that fragility exists. I disagree. I think Roman very much could have afforded to lose. I think it would have added to the idea that, oh, Roman is vulnerable. So because it's not like he's won all those matches he's had won anyway weren't clean wins. They all had interference from the Usos or Paul Heyman.
That's what drives me crazy
or something else. So it's not like Roman's
God.
winning these matches clean. So somebody finally getting ahead of him wouldn't necessarily hurt him. And I think then you walk into, because they did this with Brock Lesnar. Remember when Brock Lesnar tapped out to Benoit at Survivor Series 03 and the crowd's chanting, "You tapped out at him." But what that immediately...
We're going to have to go back and beat that name.
So what that immediately said, though, was, oh, the WWE champion is beatable. The WWE champion, Brock Lesnar, can be beat. So the question is, who's going to be the one to beat him now? Who's going to step up? Because we just saw that he can be beat. Who is it?
The Big Show.
And then it was John, because then like John Cena stepped up, and Benoit stepped up, Eddie stepped up, and Eddie ended up being the one to finally vanquish him. But like I said, you can do that. And so I feel like with the story they were trying to tell yesterday of coming out of this battle royal, who's going to be the one to challenge Roman next, I think you would have had more of a story there had Roman been beaten by Big E, because it's not like Big E gets to remain on SmackDown. So now it's, okay, Roman's been beat. Who's next? Who's going to step up to beat somebody that now we know can be beat? That's what I would have done. Because then Big E walks
Roman could have been angry, like I want to beat somebody up because Big E got one over on me, but instead he's just the same.
Because then Big E walked into Raw looking like, this is a guy who didn't beat Roman and is kind of struggling to beat Austin Theory. So what are we doing here?
First of all, I'm going to bring my agenda to our podcast. I've been waiting a long time to bring this agenda to our podcast.
Okay.
Seth Rollins is better than Roman. He always has been. I'm sorry. I feel like this week has kind of proved it. I feel like I said a few weeks ago when people were like, oh, Roman has the best new theme. No, he doesn't. Rollins has the best new theme. When we
crowd sang along with it.
When we saw the crowd singing along to it and him coming out and doing a dance, listen, Rollins is more entertaining.
I think Rollins is better at every single aspect.
Rollins coming out and doing Rollins is the man, bro. Like, and I mean, I feel like he's always been a better wrestler than him, but I feel like he's finally getting the character stuff that he's been missing for a long time. And I feel like you could go across the board with all of the live pay-per-view matches. Who's had the better match at most of those shows? Who had the better match at WrestleMania? I think it was Rollins. Who had the better match at SummerSlam?
I mean, I will say this about Roman matches. Roman matches, I'm not going to say they're bad, because they're not. They're not for me. And I mean that like almost in general. I don't like the... I'm not a fan of the monologues during matches. I'm not a fan of just like talking during matches. I feel like there's storytelling, and then there's just like telling a story. And I feel like he kind of just like...
It's too on the nose.
It's extremely on the nose. I guess I will be the dissenter and say that I like Seth as a performer. But for whatever reason, there's something about Seth Rollins that has never clicked with me. It's to say Seth Rollins, I can't believe I'm about to say this. There are two guys that have never really clicked with me, and they are Seth Rollins and Randy Orton. They're two guys who I like recognize their talent, but they have never clicked with me. I actually think that Seth Rollins' current gimmick is like the lamest thing on television. I think the Drip God stuff like drives me insane. Because no human like acts like that, and like he doesn't come off genuine to me. But that's me. He's not for me.
Y'all both came out with the takes. Y'all just don't like the Shield.
Here's my thing, though. I feel like Rollins, and you could say that his character is ludicrous. I feel like in the same way that you could say Omega's character is ludicrous. Like, he's a wrestling character. Like, I feel like he's a character that only works in the confines of wrestling. But I feel like his feud with Edge was some of the best television that was on SmackDown. Like, I feel like even like because SmackDown is the Roman show, I feel like for a few weeks after the Madison Square Garden show, especially, the Edge feud with Rollins was the better thing on SmackDown.
I think that, especially match-wise, I think that Edge and Rollins had better matches than Edge and Roman. As a matter of fact, I think Edge and Roman
I don't think it's close.
Yeah, I don't even think Edge and Roman was really that good. It had like a good 90-second stretch, but for the most part, it was only okay. Whereas I think that Edge and Rollins, like, every time kind of delivered. I think they delivered at SummerSlam. I think they delivered at Madison Square Garden, and I think their Hell in a Cell delivered. So, like, I think that Rollins is the more compelling performer. As far as the character is concerned, I don't really feel Drip God Rollins like at all. As a matter of fact, here's a hot take. I don't think Rollins was doing as badly as a babyface as people thought. I think that he would just...
I don't either.
I just think he was put up against The Fiend. And I think that he was put up against The Fiend at a bad time. But I actually thought Rollins as a babyface, I kind of prefer. I think that Rollins is an exciting performer. And I think that fans want to get behind him. And I think if you just knew how to book a babyface right, Rollins would have been on fire. And he just didn't get to be.
So, and now, of course, me introducing my agenda is not, just to introduce my agenda. I think Rollins is the man, but I say that to say that I feel like the WrestleMania match is going to be Brock versus Roman. I feel like it's pretty obvious at this point.
And that's where we're going, and it's just...
Yeah, and so I don't feel like I dislike Roman right now. I still think Roman is doing the best work of his career right now. But I feel like where WWE has failed him is they have basically let their viewers know that they don't care about presenting us with interesting feuds for people that are there. Nope. All of his marquee feuds are with people that are going to be there and then leave, like the Cena feud or the Brock feud. And I feel like
the Rock feud that they don't.
The Rock feud that they seem like the fans want to see.
Edge isn't a full-time performer. That guy's got
the Edge one as well. Mm-hmm. And I feel like they've done this thing twice where they have named a number one contender and they immediately devalued them as a contender by saying, look, this other guy, not this other guy, Brock is going to be the real story here. Mm-hmm. They did it with the Finn match, and they're doing it again with Sami Zayn. Mm-hmm.
I just thought about something. You're not just describing Tribal Chief Roman. You've described Roman's entire career. Because I was thinking about the fact that Roman, let's see, his first WrestleMania singles match was against Brock, non-full-timer. The following year, he faced Triple H, also non-full-timer. He was part-time Triple H, so somebody who disappeared. The year after that was The Undertaker, guy who disappeared.
One match a year.
Yeah. And they faced Brock again, a guy who disappeared. And then we got a little reprieve. He did face Drew McIntyre. It's the one time. But then other than that, and then he was going to face Goldberg at WrestleMania before he pulled out, but that was going to be the match. Their go-to for Roman, they don't trust their roster to take on Roman when it's matches that matter. The go-to for Roman Reigns seems to always be, and whether he's a babyface or a heel, it's, okay, who can we bring in to face Roman? Not who can we use across the landscape.
And I mean, if I want to step back a little bit and show my shirt, who told you that was what they were doing all the way back in 2011 on a podcast that y'all got mad at him for? But I won't get into that. I feel like the bigger issue with Big E losing is not that Big E really, really needed this win to cement him as champion. I feel like it says a lot about how they do their pay-per-views. It's like they have basically told us that the marquee match is not E versus Roman, it's Brock versus Roman. And so nobody believes anybody in between that showdown is going to beat him. And so I feel like, and that goes back to why I brought my agenda to this. The WrestleMania match should be Roman versus Rollins. It should. Like, I feel like that is the match that we should be building to. I feel like people are so afraid to go, they're going to make Rollins a babyface again. But I feel like all of the interest was there for a Rollins match, and they just completely went away from it. They just were like, we got Brock or we got Cena. Use guys that you have here. I mean, Rollins has said that that's the last thing he hasn't done is main event of WrestleMania. And I feel like the chance for him to main event of WrestleMania is with Roman. That should be the match.
He got the close out, but he didn't forgot to have the main event match. You're right.
They're building to freaking Brock Lesnar and Roman, and it's crazy. I watched the match on Sunday, and when it happened, I didn't feel. It's WWE. I don't really care about WWE, so it didn't really rank an emotion. But then when I saw somebody say, "Well, Finn Balor had to turn into the demon and get knocked off of ropes and all this stuff to get defeated," Kevin Owens had to get beat up by the Usos, get locked up, all kind of stuff. Everything has happened to everybody else. But then E just straight
loses clean,
no nothing, 1, 2, 3, and he's out of here.
And that's what I was saying before. Yeah, like it's not like those wins Roman had were clean wins. They're not wins that made Roman look like invincible. They made Roman look like he's got the right protection. The only time they seem concerned about having Roman get the clean win is when it's somebody that should be getting the clean win.
Right.
So Ken Shiro in the chat said, honest question, who was elevated by feuding with Roman? KO, Cesaro, the Usos, McIntyre, King Woods, Big E, anyone? I mean,
the Usos, maybe.
That is the issue I ultimately have with Roman's run currently. Who is it? Is there somebody on the horizon, or is Roman going to have an 8-year title run until, Sean said on the Fightful Select podcast, the panel podcast they did last week, he mentioned how he believes that the person who eventually beats Roman is Braun Breaker, right? They're
going to build him for a while.
Yeah, but if that's the case, we're talking a long way off.
Talking about some years.
Because, when we talk about Triple H's reign of terror, where he was dominant for 9 months.
Gable
Stevenson, that's it. Somebody said in the chat, Gable Stevenson, that could be somebody
that. He hasn't wrestled yet, guys.
I know. But when Hunter had that run where he was on top and dominant before he eventually lost to Batista, right? And then at least the thing that was happening alongside that reign of terror was that Batista was lying in wait. And we had Orton lying in wait. And we had Cena being built up over on SmackDown. There were guys being built up on the side. So when it finally came time, we knew who it was going to be. You could see it. You could see a year prior to WrestleMania 22 that it was going to be Cena and Triple H. You just knew it. And that was one thing I'll give them credit for. That even as Hunter was having a dominant run, one, he still lost. Like, he lost tag matches all the time. He was pinned by Jeff Hardy a million times to make you feel like, oh, when Jeff Hardy finally challenges, Jeff Hardy's going to beat him. And then Jeff Hardy would lose. But the thing is, they had those guys ready so that you knew when it was time for Hunter to lose, you had an idea of who it was eventually going to be. I don't see who that person's going to be right now. Is it like Austin Theory? I don't know. Like
they had guys, but they fed him to Roman too soon. They had Balor right there, and they fed him to Roman too soon. It's the same thing with the E match.
I'm looking across the landscape, and I'm like, I don't see who those guys are. I don't know who it's going to be.
It's Brock.
Brock Lesnar. Yeah, it's Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, Tremaine said, come on, y'all. The hair, beard, muscles, and the teeth. How could you not? Honestly, Vince can't stop booking the guy.
Brock Lesnar is going to be world champion. He's going to be the one. They're setting this guy up for Brock Lesnar, who doesn't need any.
He does, yeah.
Ken says Roman needed an active god to beat Finn, but good thing Big E is a chump that he can beat clean.
The other world champion is just a dork.
Jay Shell says Roman style worked best in the Thunderdome.
I don't know if I would say that, because I do feel like he got the intended reaction at WrestleMania. But the problem, like I said, it's not Roman. It's not Roman's act. All of his stuff is great, but I feel like everything that they booked around it has failed him. Like, I don't feel like it's him.
We also have NWA Bad Blood. It said, this is Bad Blood from the Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast, and I agree. Seth is a better all-around worker. Roman is one-dimensional. Here's the thing. I'm just kind of like, I don't dislike the Roman stuff, but I am tired of it. I will say that shout out to Garrett Kidney, who always has hilarious takes. He posted a picture of Roman sitting backstage with the Usos and Paul Heyman, and it's just a question of what episode of SmackDown is this from?
All of them.
Like, if I showed you a picture of Roman Reigns standing in the middle of the ring with Paul Heyman next to him and said, this opened SmackDown, which episode? All of them.
Yeah, every one of them.
Every one of them.
Every Friday.
This is how SmackDown starts. Each week, it is Roman standing in the ring with Paul Heyman at rings or next to him. And it's just like, you have to have
every week.
You have to come up with some new ideas, come up with new ways to use the guy.
Yeah,
that's what I want to say.
They say that's cool, like, oh, this is Roman's show, but like not in a good way, you guys. Like, I mean, need it to be
give me some variety.
That's why I said I think he is doing the best work of his career. I think towards the beginning of the year, I do think he was having the best storylines on SmackDown, but I feel like it's grown stale because I feel like now
he beat all the challengers.
We do not believe anybody can beat him. They haven't set up anybody as a believable threat to him. Man, the last time that I really bought in that somebody could actually beat him was the Bryan match. And I felt like even then you kind of knew Bryan was going to lose the match and go away, but I feel like the match was just that good. But again, that's Daniel Bryan. Like, I mean, who has bad matches with Daniel Bryan? I don't know, man. Like, I'm not one of those guys that think the Roman matches are bad. I think he's had good matches this year, but I just think in terms of me being invested and feeling like the other opponent can win the match, I just never feel that way. And I mean, the Big E match was good, but I never felt like E was going to win that match.
Not for 1 second. Man, not for 1 second.
I mean, I was hopeful. I was watching it like, come on, man, you have to give the win to Big E. You just have to. And then after he hit the big ending and Roman got the ropes, I was like, okay, I know where this is going.
Right.
And I will say this right quick, because I see people that are immediately saying that the Big E title reign is a failure because of that loss. It is not. I feel like he's been treated better than most of the last WWE champions. Even when you compare him to Kofi, for example, Kofi was not allowed to do the media appearances and do the outside stuff that E has been doing. And I kind of wonder if some of that is his own doing, but I don't know that for a fact, so I won't get into it.
I think Big E is having the best run outside of outside of TV than any champions had in recent years. Yeah, and I think a big part of it is that Big E might be doing this on his own. I don't know. Right. We got a wrap soon, so I want to read these last 3 super chats. We got Alan, who said, I think The Rock will be a distraction for Brock Roman for WrestleMania to set up the next WrestleMania in Hollywood. I mean, what is that, a distraction like on the Titantron? He ain't going to be at that show.
Hey, look up here. Hey, look up here, Roman.
We got King of Games. 405 says, did you all enjoy CM Punk's 434-day title reign? It had, honestly, there were moments where it wasn't hitting and then moments where it was.
Yeah.
I think history is kinder to it because of overall mostly delivered, but at the same time, I do think that it had moments where it kind of fell a little flat.
I think hot take with his reign. When you look at like how it ended, it's kind of like the same thing with the Bulls in the Last Dance. I think I think we've held that run up to what it is because it's always this what if of what he could have done next. Right. And I think him losing to The Rock the way he did made people so mad that they were like, no, his reign should have kept going. And I think some people are like, that reign is better than it was because we wanted it to keep going. He shouldn't have lost to The Rock.
Right. Yeah. And finally, Mark Losper says, saying Roman is doing his best work isn't so much a compliment, but rather an indictment on everything he's done before. Nothing about him is organic. And I do feel like we're finally seeing the most organic. I feel like we're finally seeing the most organic stuff of his career. Whereas beforehand, it did feel like they had just kind of jumped the gun on everything and then pulled back. Like it was like they wanted everything done quickly and then when they realized, we acted too soon, let's not commit. They were so like hot and cold with Roman. Anyway, folks, this has been Grapsody. It's always fun talking with my dudes, Reg and Phil. Come back next week. We will be here at our normal time of noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. We are here at youtube.com/Fightful.
Get the PWI on Thursday. It's going to be a super insane great issue. That's all I can say right now. Just get it.
I was going to say, do we have anything coming up this week? Anybody else doing anything fun? So that's what Reg has got going on. I got a couple of podcasts I'll be on this week. I will say, as much as I love Grapsody, I'm not going to spoil what it is, though I'm sure you guys can guess. But this coming week, me and Denise Salcedo are going to record what I truly believe is going to be the greatest podcast of my entire life.
Wow.
That's it. That's all I'll say. So tune in for that.
Mariah Carey has something to do with it. It has to, I'm guessing.
Hey, man. I don't know.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that. But and then Phil, what do you got going on?
I don't know. Do I have anything on?
Any pieces coming out?
I know I've got an interview with Baron and Jonathan Gresham coming soon. Man, real quick, I just want to say thank you to everybody that listened last week. That was our most viewed episode. Which
yeah,
a lot of people that were first time listeners, first time viewers. Thank you for supporting. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
peace, y'all.
And yeah, we got some wrestler shout outs on that one too. So that was a good one. So hey, join us next week. I'm always excited to get to talk with these guys. For Philip Lindsey and for Righteous Reg, I'm Will Washington. We'll see you next time. Have a great day. Peace.